Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Older Man's Quick Take. Yes, I'm going to start a whole new series of videos that just deal with one subject very quickly. Something that is trending, something that is thought-provoking, links that you send me that needs a little bit more attention, but not enough for a massive 30-minute video. I'm going to try to break down my opinions very quickly in these videos. So, for those of you that are asking for shorter videos, I heard you. Here it is. And for those of you that love my long-form videos, don't worry. I'm going to still be bringing long-form videos. Okay? So, my friends, subscribe, book a session. Check in the description of this video to see all of my great offers. I'm not going to make this long. Let's get into the CNN latest video.
Tonight, this message is gaining steam.
So let me say very simply, I want more babies in the United States of America.
Well, it's led to what's called the pro-natalist movement, and it's getting more popular because of messages from Vice President Vance and Elon Musk, who, of course, has at least 13 children with multiple women.
You see how she expressed this with certain amount of visceral disdain? In basic language, sort of that bitchy, like 13 children by multiple different women. She's talking about the richest man in the world. Think about that shit. There's not going to be a deadbeat dad. Throughout time, throughout history, all the great men, all the great leaders have had hundreds of kids. Okay? But for some reason, because it's Elon Musk, and this is the left, there's a certain amount of visceral disdain for this man. Let me know if you detect what I'm detecting. But it just seems like there's this anti-kids, anti-men, it's insane listening to this. But let's go on. Let's just hear how far it goes, okay?
CNN's Mina Durson is out front at the 2025 Natal Conference. Because yes, there is a conference.
Raise your hand if you are a mom or a dad in the room here tonight. This is the war for civilization, and we are going to win it one life at a time.
We're here at NatalCon, which is a gathering of about 200 people from all over the world who have come here because they all feel very strongly that the world needs more babies.
There's a civilizational catastrophe coming, and the way to solve it is to have sex. Like, that's got to be the easiest pitch in history.
Birth rates around the world are plummeting, and they think this is the issue of our time.
It's a massive conversation, and that's why we're here.
We need to encourage more people to get married and have kids. We need those people to be the people of the future.
Many countries are no longer having enough kids to replace their populations. Some experts predict this will cause labor shortages and inflation, permanently changing the economy. The people most passionate about this call themselves pronatalists.
People are like, why are high fertility people always so weird?
Malcolm and Simone Collins have 4 kids, soon to be 5, and are some of the loudest advocates for pronatalism.
What we've seen is pronatalism and demographic collapse have become the global warming of the right. Some of the first people who really recognize the scale of the problem are major players in the White House right now, like J.D. Vance and Elon Musk.
The growth rate is very low in almost every country. And unless that changes, civilization will disappear.
Elon Musk's fixation with population collapse has pushed pronatalism into the spotlight. His tweets about NatalCon helped double attendance for this year's event, where the tickets cost $1,000.
Yes, I spent all of my savings coming here, actually.
Do you want to have kids?
Yes.
You don't have kids?
No.
How many do you want to have?
Well, minimum 5. I want to have my first at 22. And then I want to have
You gotta get on that.
Yeah, I know.
Organizers said they heard a lot of interest in matchmaking, so they gave yellow wristbands to singles to help them find each other.
You have a yellow wristband.
Yes.
So you're
you're
open to mingling.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Have you met anybody good?
I'm not sure if you can tell.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lads here. There's not that many ladies.
The speakers are largely dry economist types, focused on tweaks to boost birth rates, from tax credits to housing. But politically, the vibe is firmly right-wing.
The marginal people need to go back to the margins.
We want to raise families. The left is raising pride flags over cat shelters.
I don't understand why the left keep pushing this narrative that everything is okay, even though the majority of the Western Hemisphere, the birth rates are at an all-time low. But the issue we're not seeing is that the worst place that are being affected are in certain Eastern countries. South Korea, the lowest birth rates worldwide. The population will collapse. It has already hit the death cross. For those of you who don't know what that is, that happens when more people are dying than there are more people being born.
These young South Koreans are on a mass blind date. 100 men and women are here hoping to find love. With the help of the government.
마음의 여유가 없어요, 보니까. 그래서 내 친구가
For the next 5 hours, they'll play games, dance, and dine until they find the one. But it's not all fun and games. South Korea is facing a demographic time bomb, grappling with the world's lowest fertility rate that threatens its very future. And the government is scrambling for solutions from cash for having babies to unconventional initiatives like this matchmaking event. The country even declared a national emergency over the plunging birth rate.
And of course, the amount of people that are still alive are not able to have kids, meaning the women. The women are too old to reproduce. So these are women past their 50s, and they're living longer. So the social programs are not able to actually take care of them as they get older. Because remember, Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. We need people to keep pouring into it in order to pay out the people who have been in the scheme for a long period of time, because the money that was paid by those people who are older has already been spent on the previous generation of old people who have already died off. So the right is trying to push people to have kids. This isn't anything unusual. I did a video around 4 months ago on China, who sees the problem and trying to do what you call the reverse one-child policy. All of those agencies that were involved with pushing the one-child policy, they are now trying to push for Chinese people to have more than one kid. All over the Western Hemisphere, every single European country is in a birth decline. Now, they're trying to make it sound like this is a racist issue. White people are complaining. Well, they should. They should. Because those are the ones that are freaking dying off. All the European countries, England, France, Sweden, you name them, Norway, every single one of them where feminism have been pushed, right? This empowerment class have been pushed. The birth rates are the lowest.
3% of the world's population now live in a country where birth rates are not declining. So declining birth rates are the norm. And they started declining, as I said, first in Britain, but it's basically happened everywhere. It seems to just be an inevitable consequence of modernity, that people have fewer children. And there are a whole bunch of reasons associated with this. The one that you'll hear most commonly from London millennials is that it's to do with house prices. And that it is a factor. That it's become more expensive, particularly in big urban centres like London, New York, San Francisco, Tokyo, wherever, to own property and raise children. That's not the only factor, though, because if that were the only factor, then you wouldn't be seeing this extraordinarily global phenomenon of falling fertility absolutely everywhere, regardless of house prices. It does seem to be just something about modernity discourages family formation.
The white people who have actually adopted this attitude, I got to go out and work instead of having babies, I'm not a baby-making machine, they are dying off. So when white people are now saying, hey, we need to have freaking conferences and shit to discuss this because we're in trouble, what's wrong with that? Is nothing wrong with that. But CNN going to make it look like it's some sort of, this big racist thing. White men are trying to push for birth. Black people are having kids. Listen, there's no shortage of black baby mamas. These women are pumping out kids. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 babies. 9 different baby fathers. So white people realize, hey, shit, we're in trouble. That's why they're white people attending these things. I'm sure they didn't say no black people or no brown people, but they're not the ones that are not having the kids. It's the white people that are not having the kids because they're the ones that have fallen into this trap. The majority of them.
2024 actually did have a slight uptick in births. Bad news. It was just the anchor babies from the illegal immigrants.
It's pretty difficult to draw a neat, tidy circle around everybody here. The far right or the extreme right, like, we would like to have more babies, but we would like to have more of our babies. On the other end, people like more babies are always good, whether it's babies or immigrants. And The other axis, trad Catholics, Mormons, and then like a kind of tech bro or tech futurist genetic selection of embryos, trying to refine the quality of the babies that are born.
Because the Collinses are building their family through IVF, using experimental testing to rank embryos for traits from health risks to intelligence, they get one of the biggest criticisms of pronatalism, that it's code for eugenics.
Eugenics is when you say, these are good traits, these are bad traits.
This is just people choosing among their own embryos. We're not talking about sterilizing people or all the classic problems that are out there with eugenics.
Ahead of the conference, press coverage called out some speakers as race science promoters and eugenicists, and students accused the event of hosting Nazis, a criticism organizer Kevin Dolan dismissed.
You can't be governed by people calling you names. I think that these ideas, they're not going to come from people who don't want to hurt any feelings.
Do you feel like there's a risk of alienating people with the kind of speakers you've selected and that tenor?
Of course.
And is that a risk for the larger cause?
I mean, some of those people are polarizing. They're my friends. And I'm not going to chuck them under the bus.
We can't let the right own things that are that fundamental.
Paul Constance was the only liberal we met the whole weekend.
I'm here because I think it's a really big topic, and progressives need to be in the conversation.
Why is this such a big deal to you?
So I have kids in their 20s. Young people today feel very hesitant or unable to form families. It's very easy to talk about cat ladies and to imply that people on the left don't care about kids. It's much harder to actually put forward policies that would make everyone of any political stripe be more inclined to form a family.
I think that one of the things that often gets skipped over in any discussion of natalism today is kind of the actual lives of women who make decisions about whether or not to bring a child into the world. Don't forget about the ladies. Don't forget about the people who have the babies.
And I think you can see that crowd is pretty homogenous, very white, largely male. We heard many of the speakers had to drop out because they were pregnant. So lost a lot of women that way. A lot of men told us they were there repping their wives because, when you have a big family like that, you can't travel to a conference. It becomes very expensive and someone has to do that childcare. So I think this lack of diversity kind of shows this is a self-selecting group. This message is kind of staying within these bubbles for now. And while these people are quite panicked about this, a lot of experts we spoke to for this piece said collapse is really a little overblown.
Yeah, it is amazing though watching. I mean, it's such an incredible report, but it did stand out so many white men. I mean, that's who was represented there.
Wow. You see, so many white men. It's amazing how CNN will demonize anything that the right does or take up the initiative to start first. It blows my mind. Listen, guys, I mean, I want you all to think about this. Most of you that are watching me are blacks. And I don't care where you come from. You're people of color. Let me use the politically correct term, right? But imagine if black people weren't having kids. My brown friends. Imagine if none of your brown women were having kids. Asian people, same thing. But everybody else was, right? Wouldn't you then say, hey, we see a problem here. Let us start a movement to try to get our people back in line so that we don't die off, so to speak, even though technically that's not going to be possible. It's pretty much impossible to eliminate one particular race of people because there will always be those born again. The genetic line isn't going to die off, and at least that won't happen where you would literally eliminate one race of people in, if not thousands of years, because too many of them are spread out around the world, right? So what we have to understand is that we are in a crisis period. Regardless of who started it or who got the ball rolling on trying to reverse this problem, because it is a problem, I am happy to see that the problem is being addressed. I don't think the liberal parties who see the problem going on are going to try to start something like this, because they would have to admit that this whole feminist push, which has literally pushed women out of the home and into the workplace, is not good for society. Because that has been the push for the liberals. So now we're looking at a population decline. They would have to admit that they were wrong. And that's not going to happen anytime soon. So that's my quick take, my friends. Hey, let me know what you think. Let's have a conversation in the comment section. By all means, my friends, I'm going to see you in the next issue of The Older Man's Short Takes. I'll see you soon. Cheers.